Hey, beautifuls. Welcome to Love It Yoga Coaching. We are learning how to rethink our back pain away tonight. What you will need for a class is a chair, a strap, maybe a couple blocks, a couple pillows if you have them accessible. It would be really nice if you have a journal, something to write down some insights that you gain, and your willingness above all else to think a little bit differently, to shift your mindset into a space where you might actually surprise yourself with all that you have available to you to begin thinking about your pain differently in order to allow it to ease. I can't wait to begin. Grab those things and we will start in just a sec. Thanks for being here. Or, yeah, recording in progress, just so it's not startling. At the end of the session today, you guys are welcome to schedule a private session with me. I'm giving away just sample coaching sessions. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go through. For starters, I'm just going to start sharing my screen here so you guys can get a visual of what I'm looking at. All right, so thank you guys so much for being here. Don't worry about how you're sitting, how you're standing, where you are at all right now. I will walk you through everything as we go. Welcome to Rethink Your Back Pain Away. This is just a snippet of some new ways to think about how you're moving, things that you can do to connect with your own source of your healing power to heal your pain from within. And I am a self-love yoga coach. I work with people on all different types of pain. As a holistic coach, I work with mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional pain, and give people the awareness so that they can grow into acknowledging their own limitless resources for healing their own pain, no matter what it is. So these tools can also be applied to any area of your life, not just your back pain, which is one of the things that I love most about actually having had back pain, is that I am more in tune with my own physical body and where my emotions and my thoughts actually stem from, and how to powerfully ponder in order to release those things. So this is Rethinking Your Back Pain Away today, and we're going to go through how to really love yourself. I believe that all practices that we do for ourselves are a method of self-love. So if we have pain somewhere, I believe firmly that the best way to release it is to love it more. So we're going to talk through some ways to love your back more every single day with some simple tools for self-care. And I have experienced L5-S1 herniation for 22 years. So that's who the heck I am to know. I'm 42 years old. I had my first herniation when I was 20 years old. I was told at the time that it was radiculitis, that I should have surgery. But at the time, in the year 2000, the surgery was so brand new that they recommended that I wait 10 years until the surgeons actually had some practice on other people and wouldn't slice into my nerves or my spinal column, which was very reassuring, as you can imagine. Not. So I waited 8 years. I didn't wait the whole 10, but I did every type of therapy imaginable. I did physical therapy, chiropractic, epidurals, electric stim, acupuncture, acupressure, deep tissue massage, and everyone over and over and over again until I finally learned that the things that were actually affecting how I felt in my body were things much larger than just what I was doing or what specialists I was seeing. So what I have done over the past 22 years is I've also studied a lot of yoga, pranayama, and meditation. And what I now do is help burnt out, injured, overwhelmed professionals heal themselves and to become your own pain-free self-love master without losing your soul's purpose or the things that you love most about your life. It may feel like you have lost them right now. It may feel like that over the, the majority of the course of dealing with this herniation. But please know that this pain is alerting you. It's a signal to something that some way that you can love yourself more and some deeper meaning behind your life. It is not just for nothing. It is not just that you are experiencing pain, you're being tortured, you're being punished for anything. You did absolutely nothing wrong. You are a radiant, amazing, incredible being, and everything that your pain makes you feel and question is not for nothing. It is not in vain. Right? You are all the more empathetic and able to acknowledge not only your own pain and the source of it, but also the source from in other people. You're able to be more sympathetic and empathetic to other people's pains. You're able to be a better friend, a better parent, a better role model, and so many more things in life. So as we go through today, these are just some images of what I have done, who I've worked with. I've been working with individuals and groups for quite some time. I do catered one-on-one private sessions with people, and I also do a lot of group and retreat type settings. I have a experienced yoga teacher and a certified Yoga Alliance continuing education certification from having done over 2,000 hours of training people privately. These are just some of my clients. This is Dan and Naru. Dan I've been working with for about 2 years now, who has a herniated L5 and L6 disc, and he learned this one exercise that I'm going to show you today called the bug. Maybe you have heard of it. I personally believe that it is one of the biggest lifesavers in terms of living with spinal extension and acknowledging how you can move in every situation to help yourself to avoid pain and create more ease in your life. Dan feels like we have rebuilt his spine over the course of working with him. This is Naru, a 50-something accountant in New York City who used to run the marathon, experienced back pain, had herniated discs, and after working with me for only 10 sessions, is back to running marathons again. Not something I recommend. However, Naru really wanted to run marathons still, and so with the breath work mostly and the core engagement that I have taught him in private sessions, he is back and running the marathons twice a year and just loving it. So before we go any further, I'm going to give, as I said, each one of you a free session at the end of class. This class, I'm calling it. But what I'm going to be sharing with you is just what I've come to realize over the past 3 years, of my 41, now 42. I just turned 42 in May. So that you can really experience this type of bliss. So please stick around to the end. If you have to go, no problem, just chat with me. But I'd really love you to think about, since this is rethinking your back pain, in terms of managing your back pain, where you are in your journey. Think about an area where you feel like you're really thriving, where you think you're doing really well. And I want you to think about a way that you might congratulate or celebrate yourself for this. What is congratulating? What does celebration mean to you? What does reward mean to you? So this is a big part of what I do as a holistic coach. We work with the ways that we conceptualize reward and celebration for ourselves. And it can be really important because most people, when I ask them, how do you celebrate yourself? How will you reward yourself for this thing that you accomplished? It's not always an easy thing, or it doesn't come directly to our minds because we've been conditioned in our societies and in our cultures not to celebrate ourselves, not to reward ourselves, but to be always seeking external validation and to be, hitting deadlines for the companies that we work for and working through things, but not necessarily honoring and celebrating us. So I just want you to think about one thing. And this is a technique by the author of Stumbling Upon Happiness. He brings up this really great point that our brains think about negative events cumulatively. So when you think about your back pain, we typically think of all the things associated with back pain. This is also a Buddhist concept called dukkha. Dukkha means suffering. And within suffering, we have single dukkha, just I have back pain, I have nerve pain. Then we often add double dukkha to it. I feel bad about my back pain, or I feel bad that I have nerve pain. Then we can add all sorts of layers of dukkha onto that, right? We add, well, now I can't do the things that I used to do because I have back pain and I feel bad. Or now I see other people enjoying their lives the way I used to, and I can't do that. So now I feel even worse with that layer of comparison. And if we can think about more and more layers of it, we can really get ourselves in this kind of like fishtail and this ruminating thought pattern, which can lead to depression and other really challenging situations in our lives. But if we can think about things in terms of that cumulative effect with positive thoughts, we can really do ourselves a great service. So our brain works to experience positive events singularly. So think about something good that has happened to you. You get a new job, you have a baby, you celebrate a birthday, you win something, right? These are all positive events, and our brain works literally not to think about all the other wonderful things that happen in our lives, because when we experience positive emotions, we don't need that backup support. Our brain thinks that we're constantly winning a war. This is why our central nervous system has a fight or flight response and a rest and digest response. So when we think about a positive event, we don't need anything else because we're already happy, right? But the reason that we're stumbling upon happiness and we're not thinking about all of the positive things is because our brain is trained to treat a negative event as if it were a battlefield and we're at the front line and we need all the other negative events as like they're soldiers to come and fight this war against these negative emotions. So there's a perceived threat when really there's nothing there. So we're going to work with trying to switch that little mechanism in our mind so that we can think about our back pain as something positive, as something good, and try to use that cumulative effect or train our brains to think of those things cumulatively by celebrating, rewarding ourselves, almost like Pavlov's dogs, right? If you know the psychology experiment, if you can think of something positive, then we're going to train ourselves to add on to that. What else is positive? What else can we add into our experience, into our mindset to enhance that one thought? The other thing I'm going to ask you to do today is to think about an area where, like I just said with stumbling upon happiness, an area where it is negative. You do feel like you are coping or you're trying to heal, you're not thriving yet. However, we're going to frame this in a perspective of we're trying to grow more. Which area of your back pain healing process or your journey would you like to grow more in? So think about that, and feel free to put your answers in the chat at any time during the video. If you think of something and something pops up, if you don't have something to write on, you can use the window for that. We can discuss these at the end of the call. You're welcome to take a free tour of my private Facebook group, Restore and Love Yourself with Beth in the next 24 hours. I can schedule you a separate call for that to take a tour of it. I also have a free private Facebook group called Self-Love Sanctuary. If you want to come in there and just join the conversation and talk about your back pain, you're also more than welcome to join us in there. Please also note any questions that you might have. This is only going to be about an hour, so at the end, I will give you guys the opportunity to think about or talk through some of those positive and negative points. So one of the really strong ways that I work through pain is mantra. And if this is too spiritual for you guys, all good. This is just one of my favorite chants. It's Waheguru. And this is a chant. It's known as kirtan in the yogic world. Kirtan is devotional chanting. And what's really great about chanting or even singing anything is that you are continuously exhaling as you sing or chant. So when you're exhaling, you are actually deregulating your central nervous system. You are calming yourself down. Think about when someone asks you to take a breath. What do you typically do if someone says, take a breath? Do you inhale or do you exhale?
Inhale.
Yeah, and inhaling is wonderful. Inhaling also brings our prana up to our chest and into our throat and is one of the biggest instigators of fight or flight response or hyperventilation. So what speaking, what singing, what chanting does for you is it allows you to a natural way to continue your exhale breath. So we're going to work with another breath work in a minute here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with singing or if you even enjoy it. I'm just going to say the words to this. It's really just Wahe Guru. Wahe means wonder and admiration in Sanskrit, the language of the Buddha, and also the language, the language of the Buddha is Pali, but the language of yoga is Sanskrit. And Guru just means supreme teacher. In this instance, when we put these together, we are talking about the supreme teacher being yourself. So we are honoring this venerable spiritual partner that is you. I believe that we are all our own gurus, we are all our own masters, and we can all heal ourselves from within just by connecting to our own energies. So the tune for this, I couldn't click it on YouTube here, but it's very simple. It just goes Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru. I'm just going to sing it 3 times. You guys can chime in if you'd like to. You can put yourself on mute if you'd like to. It's just a way to practice exhaling again. So, Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru. Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru. Last one. Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru, Wahe Guru. So I honor the Supreme Teacher in both of you, in all of us, and the Supreme Teacher in myself as well. What you do with your spine is up to you. You are the guru. So when you are aligned, we have the capability of feeling limitless. So I just want to stress or emphasize that whatever you choose to do for your healing is all that really matters. So if none of this resonates with you, it's perfectly fine. I'm only here to provide what I have learned throughout my many years of going from suffering to healing to thriving, and I hope that at least some of it resonates and helps you out. So what we're going to cover today is first how to breathe. That might sound pretty crazy, but Mo, you were saying you've done a lot of Wim Hof for about 5 weeks now, if I'm not mistaken. And so breathing is really everything. Prana is your breath, your life force energy, and can help assist you in every movement that you do. We're also going to go over how to sit in a chair. We're also going over how to sit on the floor from there, and then also how to stand back up again. These might seem like really basic things, but they're really, really important because these are the things that we do constantly all day long, every day. And if we're not doing them effectively to help support our spine, then we could be doing further damage when why? We don't need to be doing further damage. We could be helping ourselves. I'm going to teach you how to bend over and how to bend back up to stand. And then I'm going to teach you how to sleep, as if you don't already know how to sleep. But as you know, when we deal with herniated disc pain, it's often one of the most challenging things ever. Mo, you're also saying that the breath work also helps you sleep. That's wonderful. I want to encourage you to keep doing it more, as much as you possibly can, especially if it's helping you. When your body is at full rest, meaning also not digesting food, but sleeping completely restful in REM sleep, you are healing your cells. You're healing yourself all the way down to a cellular level. So it is essential to your healing process, to getting that herniated disc to either recede back into between the vertebrae, to lay off of those nerves a bit more, that we are able to rest comfortably and through the night for as many hours as we need. I'm also going to go over the perfect formula to connect you with your own pain. With this whole class, we're going to be moving in possibly new ways, and you really only need your mind and your breath to learn how to contract your muscles using your breath. I'll also talk a little bit about how to advocate for yourself within the medical world, if you would like, just based on any questions that you guys have. I just have a couple tips and tricks for that as well. So let's go back to just how to breathe. So we went over Waheguru. We know that the exhale is really powerful. So wherever you are, if you can place your hands on your low belly, and as you know, this area behind your belly button is where the spine naturally curves, where the S curve of your back begins. So if you can place your hands right here over your low belly, this little pooch most of us have, this is not a bikini contest, or it's not anything about your physical body. This is simply about breathing. So let's really feel into what that part of our body feels like. Don't be afraid to use your hands to self-soothe, to touch yourself, to get familiar with this area. And if you don't do this anytime or, often, I welcome you. I invite you to do this more often. You also have a center, a chakra center in this area. It's called your sacral chakra, around the sacrum in the back body. The sacral chakra is known as Swadhisthana. It is the center for likes and dislikes. So this is a really powerful place when we're talking about positive and negative emotions, right? We store a lot of emotions in this area because it's this place where our spiritual body, our subtle energy, is deciding in this area. Do I like this? Do I not like this? Do I hate this? Do I love this? So let's really tune in by using the love language of physical touch and just hold that belly. If you'd like to place your thumbs together at the top, right over your belly button, and your fingertips down by your pubic bone, that's great. If you don't feel comfortable, any place is fine. You can also always shift your hands around to the back of your sacrum, especially if you have a lower herniated disc. And just sometimes it's just really nice to feel that warmth with the hands, just touching yourself, letting yourself know, I'm okay, I am safe, I will get through this. This is not forever. This is not permanent. This is just what I'm experiencing now. Back pain is an event. It is not a forever sentence, life sentence, or death sentence. Okay, so placing your hands there, the reason that we have our hands here is so that we can really feel our bellies expand into the palms. So use the base of your palms as something to really open your belly into, or press your belly into, when you inhale. When you exhale, draw the belly back away from the palms, almost like you can see that space there. You don't have to move the hands at all. And you don't have to do it on my command either. Try to follow the natural rhythm of your breath. Whenever you begin to exhale, try to inhale from right down where the tips of your fingers are. So you're breathing into the really low abdomen, and then only as high up as the thumbs. And then when you exhale, try to draw back that lower abdomen, right where the fingertips are pointing, like near your pubic bone, and then try to draw that mid abdomen back away from the thumbs. Again, same thing. We're just breathing in, really deep breath, letting the belly get big in the front and out to the sides, right? Not a beauty contest here. I'm not posing for any magazines, not winning any awards. Exhale and pull that belly back away from the palms. Again, follow the natural rhythm of your breath. You're not trying to do this in any number of seconds. You're not trying to go fast. You're not trying to go slow. You're just tapping into, what does my natural breath do? And how big, how expansive can I let the inhale breath get? And how tiny can I get my front of my belly when I exhale? Just take a couple more rounds of breath. So an inhale and a full exhale is 1. Whenever you're ready to inhale, release and fill up that low belly. And when you're ready to exhale, contract those low abdominal muscles and pull them back. So this is the beginning of what we call Agni Raj breath in yoga, which means internal fire. So you're igniting all of the energy that you have at the base of your spine. Most people never, ever breathe into this space in their bodies. So I just want to congratulate you already for having done a breath work that most people have not done. And if you already have, you're eons ahead. So awesome job. So we're going to use this breath work as we continue learning how to move with our breath. And I invite you, if it's possible for you, continue breathing this way the whole hour, right? We don't have a full hour left, but just keep breathing in and filling up the belly, and out and pulling it away. In and filling up the belly, and out, pulling it back and away. So as you're standing, you can also place a hand on your low back. So wherever your herniation is, I invite you to feel into what that area is, where that space is, and place a hand there, either the back of your hand if it's comfortable, or the palm of the hand if you can manage. And again, still breathe into the low belly, kind of fill up that right hand palm, and then exhale and pull it back. What you're also going to begin to do is draw your sits bones together, your pubic bone forward a little bit, and your abdomen back. So what we're attempting to do is create, instead of that natural S curve in the spine, right, sticking our tail out, we're going to try to draw or fill in this whole curvature of the spine with drawing our low abdomen back. Hey, Gabrielle, thanks so much for being here. You can just join in because we're just breathing. So inhaling fully into the belly, into the palm, and see if you can, at the same time, draw those sits bones slightly together and kind of straighten out the back. If it helps you also to place one hand on like a hip or at the top of your glute max here and kind of assist that motion. So we're tucking the pelvis slightly forward, but we're not like really overly arching, because this would be like a sway back posture. That would be really bad. What we're trying to do is line up all of the vertebrae of the spine by drawing the low belly back a bit, sitting the tailbone and the sits bones down a bit more. I'm trying to keep that length in the spine. So this is what's referred to as spinal extension. And we're going to go over another exercise, the bug, to really nail that home and create some muscle memory in our body going forward in just a moment once we get down on the ground. But for now, how does that feel to everybody? Is this new? Do you know how to do this already? Does it feel good, bad? Is it relieving? Is it tractioning? What are we feeling like? Feel free to share in the chats, or if you want to unmute yourself, happy to hear you out. It feels new. Nice. Thanks for sharing, Sarah. That's great.
It's quite relaxing.
Relaxing. That's wonderful. All right. Let's build on that.
It is completely new to what I've done before.
Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to keep building on that. Newness is great, right? For a lot of us, the pain has been really new. So if that feels scary at all, we can accept that that's what we're feeling. But I just want to acknowledge you guys for identifying the newness, the relaxation it brings to you. And let's continue to build, right? Where else does our mind go when we feel that way? And are these feelings that we want to have? Do we want newness in our lives? Do we want relaxation? If so, this is the work of Byron Katie, if you're familiar with, she's a very wonderful life coach who helps us to identify the thoughts that we're having and ask ourselves questions about them, right? What do we feel right now? And do we want that to continue? So if we do want these feelings to continue, then we can continue doing the actions that bring about these feelings. Okay, so awesome job. You guys now know how to pelvic breathe and how to fully breathe into your low belly and fully exhale out of your low belly. That's magnificent. So I just hopped along even more here. Let's go to sitting down. So while you are standing, we want to always have that spinal extension. So if you have a chair accessible, think about all of the bones of your spine, starting from your ankles, then your knees, then your hips, then your shoulders. And when we naturally stand, just notice when you're naturally standing and you can bend your knees and kind of bounce around a little bit if it's not painful. Notice how the spine curves. So when we're moving throughout our lives, we're typically not thinking all the time about our spine, right? And we have whatever posture is most natural to us, which for a lot of people can be very detrimental. right? I, for one, suffered from sway back. I walked around, I'm not exaggerating, I basically walked around like this for a while. What that does is it load bears on the low back and caused the herniation to eventually build over time, because I was always an athlete and a runner and a lifter, and it compounded the pain and tightened the hamstrings and kind of pulled down on that sinuous fluid. So in order to eliminate or ease off a lot of that pressure, what we want to do is try to get the vertebrae to be stacked in a straight line as much as possible. So that pelvic breathing is one of the best ways to do it, to help your body become more familiar with drawing the abdomen back, allowing the sits bones to come down a bit, as well as the tailbone. And what's going to happen is you're going to need to bend your knees slightly. If you'll notice, if you guys are doing it with me, as you kind of tuck, your knees kind of go forward just naturally. That's fine, right? Your knees are there to allow for cushioning on your spine. So we always want to remember to bend our knees in any movement when we are struggling or suffering or things feel too hard or stiff or out of control. So to create spinal extension, we want to draw the abdomen back, draw the tailbone and the sits bones back slightly. The pubic bone is going to lift a little bit, and you'll see how you can kind of fill in that natural curve in the spine, right? It becomes more straight. We can draw the shoulder blades back, and this is where it gets a little bit more tricky. And we can also drop the chest and the ribs. It's almost like you're knitting the ribs down towards the hips. So if I'm just standing naturally, right, my belly's sticking out a little bit, I've got some anterior pelvic rotation, I'm going to tuck a little bit under, and then I'm also going to draw the shoulder blades back, but I'm not going to let the ribs splay out, because then I'm creating even more of an arch in the spine again, right? So I'm going to pull the ribs down, pull the abdomen back, so that I kind of feel really funny, right? It's not the easiest thing in the world to stay with spinal alignment, with an extended spine, right? It requires kind of this micro adjusting constantly, where we're drawing the abdomen back, drawing the shoulder blades back, then lowering the ribs, and it kind of goes again. It's like, okay, now I got to retuck. Okay, pull the shoulders back, pull the ribs down. And if you can imagine you're like Cro-Magnon man, or like even like, you know, a big gorilla, how we are meant to be actually walking through our lives is with a slight engagement in the glutes, bending the knees and lifting the arms and legs, but also with our breath. So we're also breathing as we move. I was a track runner for a very long portion of my life, and the norm for sprinting was inhale, exhale, every 2 swings of your arms and every 2 steps. So it's like, we want to think about that when we're walking as well. Whenever we're lifting up, if you're lifting a leg up, it's an inhale. Any movement in the upward direction, you want to inhale. Any step down is an exhale. And what that does is kind of assist your spine in inflating it, so that the vertebrae have somewhere to go, a bit of a cushion. Literally think of a balloon, inflating your spinal column up a bit when you're trying to go up. So this includes moving your arms up, standing up, picking something up, or just picking a leg up. So think about, I'm going to inhale to lift that leg, and I'm going to exhale to put it back down. And if you want to just stand and walk in place with me, keep recorrecting that abdomen back, the tailbone down, the sits bones under, the shoulder blades back, the ribs down. Kind of walk around like a, I mean, it might feel pretty weird. This is the first time you're doing it. It might feel very bizarre, right? This is a very good posture to adopt when you're, if you've ever run, even if you're on an elliptical machine. Now that running is not really the best thing for herniated discs, it just adds more compression. So if you're going to be doing like an elliptical machine, or even as you're walking, what I think about, this is like mindful movement, right? I'm inhaling as I lift up, I'm exhaling as I place a foot down, inhaling as an arm comes up, exhaling as it goes down. And again, always stay with your natural rhythm of breath. So you're not trying to count to a certain number, trying to slow down your breath at any rate at all. This is contrary to a lot of different philosophies. So take that with a grain of salt. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, you can just leave it. I always encourage people to follow their own natural breathing pattern. So when you're tuning into how your body is naturally breathing, we can then grow and expand from there into deeper, longer breaths. But for at the outset, getting familiar with how your body actually works and how your breath actually works can be really beneficial to just know yourself, know that inner guru, know that supreme teacher that you are. So when you're going to sit down, if you have any type of impingements or pain in the back, it's not very easy, right? To just like sit straight down in a chair, because then your heels come up, your knees go forward of your ankles, and that can be very pulling or jarring on the front of the knees, your ACL. So if any of you are familiar with chair pose in yoga, one option is feet are parallel, hips width distance apart. And then maintaining that spinal extension, right? So first draw the abdomen up and back, then send the hips down, then connect the ribs down. And then you're on your exhale, right? You can inhale and even lift your arms up if you'd like, but notice how if you lift your arms up and the back splays back, pull and knit your ribs down again. And on your exhale, bend your knees and try to sink your seat back behind you or your tailbone back behind you until you sit down. And you can squeeze the glutes on your inhale to come back up. So this is like practicing chair pose or Utkatasana in yoga. That's very beneficial for supporting the length of the spine and keeping the spine in spinal extension. So anybody care for any assistance with that, or do you want to try it out? Yeah, sink those hips straight back. Nice work. You can also lower your arms as you come down, though. Inhale, lift your arms up, Sarah. And see if you can keep your spine long. Try to keep drawing that pubic bone forward and the ribs down towards the hips. Nice. You'll notice that it might get a little difficult right as you sit down, right? And then you get the load bearing. All of the weight of your upper body, your torso is going to come down onto your discs. So really engage the glutes here. And this is one of the reasons we do squats in exercise or in the gym. So when you inhale, reach your arms up, exhale, keep that spine long and sit back. If you want to hover just above the seat, you can then engage the glutes or the outsides of the buttocks and squeeze them together to lift yourself up again. This is a very beneficial engagement of the muscles to also support the spine as you come all the way down. So if you feel like, okay, once I'm down, that weight is too much, you can come back up by just like hovering or pulsing above the chair. That can be a really great exercise to do to just strengthen those glute muscles so that they support you better. Try it a couple times with the breath. Remember, inhale as you lift up, really engage the glutes, really push through the heels. Nice, Mo. Exhale as you lower down. Yeah, great. Nice, Sarah. I love how slow you're going. Really take your time with it. Beautiful. And use your arms, right? If your arms don't feel comfortable reaching out in front of you as you stand up, then you can reach them out to the sides. Try that as well. Whatever place feels the most supportive for you, that makes you feel more like a balloon, right? And you're filling up again from that really low belly. Exhaling as you sit down, really pulling the belly back so you can kind of pronounce that space in the low back getting straight and long. And then on your inhale, imagine you're filling up like a huge massive balloon, right? You're like all the breath coming into that low belly first, because really you can fill this whole pelvic floor up like a balloon, like it's inflating to lift you up. And I'll tell you another trick too. If you're doing this mindful breath work as you're doing squats, you're also doing cardiovascular exercise. So it's actually going to be replacing the work that you would do if you would go for a run. If you consistently breathe out to the full extent of your exhale, right? When you sit down, you sit, and then when you get to the seat, you might still be exhaling, that's fine. Come to the very bottom. As soon as you start to inhale, fill up that belly and squeeze those glutes. Come to the very top of your inhale, reach your arms up. Spine is long, everything is aligned, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. Let the belly get as massively full as it can, but still keep engaging the glutes and the tailbone coming down. And then only when you're at the very top of the inhale, like you can't take any more breath at all, then draw the abdomen back as the exhale begins and lower yourself down. Again, arms can be out to the sides, in front of you, wherever it feels most supportive on the spine. Really engage the glutes, really come to the full extent of each and every breath, using that Agni Raj breath, which means it's starting from the base of the spine and coming up into the belly. How are we feeling here? You guys are doing great. This looks wonderful. You want to keep working with keeping that spine nice and long so that we're training the body to stay with extension, to stay in that long spine. Another key point, nice, Sarah. Remember, always press into the heels, engage the glutes a little bit more. And as you sit down, really use that exhale breath and use the engagement of the glutes, almost like they were like hands, right? Your buttocks is there. It's nothing but muscle, right? It can also be really fatty. But the muscle in the glutes can really help to lift that seat up to really ease yourself in sitting down. So think of it like a big cushion or pillow for the back, for the spine, as well as your breath. Follow the breath out as you sit down. Really let the breath lift up from the low belly into the upper belly as you stand. Really nice job, you guys. All right, so we got standing. If that standing and sitting, if that is really hard for you, you can use another posture in yoga. You can come to the side of your chair, stick one foot out in front of the chair, because sometimes this is too challenging, right? If we have a flare up or maybe we re-herniate or just we move a little funny and something is really challenging, then it might not be so easy to engage those glutes. Or if we get really tight or stiff glute muscles or the hip flexors, sitting in chair pose coming down like that can be really challenging. So if it is really challenging, but you still need to sit down, take the time, place one foot in front of the chair and the other foot, have it come back behind you. Just making sure you can see my foot. Yeah, you can see my foot. Okay. So the other foot is on the ball of the toe, the heel is lifted high, and the back leg is straight. So standing here, this is actually crescent lunge. It's a yoga posture. You can, again, inhale and lift the arms up. Notice if the ribs flare, pull them down, tuck the tailbone down. You notice as you tuck the tailbone forward, the back leg is going to bend. That's a good thing, because when you're exhaling and lowering down, you're going to bend both of your knees until one hip sits on the chair. Inhale, lift up. Keep the front knee bent just as a bit of support and just rise by straightening the back leg. Inhale, lift long through the side bodies. Try to lift your ribs even higher than the hips, which creates a bit of traction in the spine, allows it to lengthen, create some space for that sinus fluid to slide back in. And then as you exhale, bend the back knee and sit down, just one cheek, right? Try that a couple times. Inhale as you lift up, straighten the back leg. Exhale as you lower. You can even lower the arms. Again, whatever is assisting you, right? You're just keeping that spine long. Notice if the back starts to arch, then you can hop the back foot forward a little bit so there's less space and less of a stretch. If that helps you to keep the vertebrae all stacked, to keep that spinal extension and the engagement, connecting the ribs to the low abdomen, exhale and lower down. Inhale, fills up from the low belly first. Big belly breath. Exhale, lower down. This is probably going to get pretty tiring on the back thigh. So let's switch and try the other leg. Inhale and lift up. And then just come to the other side of your chair. Try to notice as you're moving through space, am I keeping my spine stacked, right? Or am I just quickly moving and going wherever? Try to be mindful in between. This is in between moments. You might notice that is normally when we hurt ourselves, right? It's like I sneezed and I threw my back out, not like I was trying to lift something really heavy, because in those moments we tend to have our awareness about us, right? We're like, okay, this is going to be challenging. I don't want to hurt myself. But it's like, okay, I just want to move around to the other side of the chair. That's easy. That's simple. Not really. Let's think about it. Let's slow down. Let's take our time. So maintain that spinal extension and then place the other foot in front of the chair. Ball of the foot on the opposite leg back behind you. So that back knee is bent slightly, or the heel can be totally lifted and the back leg can be perfectly straight. Inhale and reach the arms up. Notice again, if your ribs are splaying out, try to pull them down and back. Knit the ribs down, lift the abdomen up, engage the glutes a little bit. Pubic bone comes forward, tailbone down. And then as you exhale, bend that back knee, lower the arms. Just the one glute, rest on the chair. Inhale, try to use your breath instead of just all of your muscles, right? We're trying to allow our body to become familiar with, I can rely on my breath, I can use it. So if my muscles feel really weak, my breath can support me. So I'm filling up like a balloon. Straightening that back leg, come to stand. Exhale, lower the arms, sit down. And try to hover above the chair on that exhale, right? When you come down, try not to just flop, because any jarring motions or pounding do affect the joints over time or the vertebrae. So try to make that transition onto the seat as smooth as possible, even if that means you have to engage the muscles more, you have to keep the spine longer. Maybe you're trying out a different muscle that hasn't really worked before, and now it's really coming to the table. It might be a really big challenge. Might seem super simple, but it's okay. If you feel a muscle in a different place that you've never felt before, allow yourself to acknowledge that. And then finally, stand up once more. And then step the feet together. Bring the hands to the heart and just take a moment placing your hands on any part of the body that feels like it's a little bit sore or it's weary, even if you have to bend the knees a little bit or maybe lift a leg to kind of massage the front of the thigh, the outside of the glutes. Always welcome again to take yourself off camera if you're not comfortable. But just get familiar with, if this part of my body hurts, I'm allowed to touch it. I'm allowed to soothe it. I'm allowed to massage myself. This is a big part of self-love, right? We don't always have to like hire someone else or, go to a massage parlor to get just simple love, touch, rubbing, soothing. Yeah. I'm just going to do a little check-in, see how you guys are feeling. Really nice to see you guys massaging yourselves. Just give you a minute. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Ooh, we're coming up on 8 o'clock already. All right. Oh, yeah. You mean this part, Mo? Should you feel the work in your upper leg or your glutes? Are you talking about the front of your thigh?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry. There, that was you. Yeah, absolutely. This is loads of leg work. But the good thing is the legs are the strongest muscles in your body. They're the largest muscles and the strongest. And actually, women have more lower body strength than men. So if you're working and you're feeling your glutes, you're doing it right, because we need to be relying more on our glutes and our legs, our thighs. They are going to get more tired. They are going to require more stretching. That's okay, because you're activating them, right? You're letting them know, yeah, we need you. We need you to come to the table because we don't want to hurt anymore, right? And they're available to you. So this is like that good, feeling that fire, feeling that muscular burn. So you're actually working something and you're supporting your spine. So that's a really great observation. I just want to thank you for that awareness and stating that that's where you're feeling it. That's absolutely accurate and great that that's where you're feeling it. All right, we're going to quickly do how to bend over, because we did it a little bit with the chair pose, and then we'll come down to the floor. I'm going to teach you guys the bug. Is anyone have a hard stop and is not going to be able to stay for a few more minutes? Because I just acknowledged that it's been almost an hour. We have 2 minutes left. Just so you guys know, if you want to email me back to schedule your private session, you totally can if you have to go at any time, or you can just send me any notes in the chat as well. So we'll quickly go over, not quickly, mindfully. Oh, you've never been on the floor. Awesome. Let's go to the floor then. All right, first we're going to do bending over, and then we'll move down to the floor. I'll teach you guys the bug, and then we'll talk a little bit about sleep, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. Sound good? All right. So we know spinal extension. Awesome. We know how to sit down in a chair. So move your chair out of the way and imagine that it is still there. Right? So you have it to mentally visualize it being behind you. So what are the things that we normally bend over for? We bend over to brush our teeth, to wash our face typically, right? So we're really going to need chair pose. And we're really going to need to acknowledge if we have spinal extension, because what happens typically if we don't know how to maintain spinal extension, we'll just bend over, right? What does it do to bend over? Don't do this. I'm doing very poor form right now. It puts all of this pressure not only on the hamstrings, which is nice to stretch the hamstrings out, but it applies all the pressure right to the back of the lumbar spine. And depending on how strong our core is, if we can't hold up our torso with our core, then it just adds a ton of triggers into the supraspinatus muscles, the ones that are all along the ribs and along the spinal column, and can really create a lot of damage over time. But there's a really, really simple trick. It's super easy. All we have to do is bend our knees like we were going to sit back in a chair, and from there, lower the chest. So this is a posture that is, or a position of the spine that we do in a lot of yoga postures specifically for this reason. If we can maintain spinal extension and we can send our hips back behind us instead of just hinging forward, we're gonna eliminate a lot of that pressure weighing down on the vertebrae, especially if you have a rear facing herniation. It's going to, if you bend over, the reason this is problematic is because if you have especially L5 or L6 disc herniation, what the back of the vertebrae does when you bend forward is it opens it up. So then that sinuous fluid in the disc pushes out even more towards the back. So that would aggravate a herniated disc if it's to the rear, if it's in like L5, L6, S1 area. So Patanjali is one of the founding fathers of yoga. Even he says in any forward fold, right, when you're bending forward, bend your knees. So we're really going to try to emphasize and encourage our body to bend more. It's going to feel extremely weird, right? Let's be honest. How many times have you gone to the bathroom and gone to brush your teeth or wash your face and you bend down in a squat? I mean, it's just bizarre, right? We don't do this. So that's what we're trying to challenge or bust this myth in our minds that this is the way that we've always moved before, but now we're going to retrain ourselves to move differently so that we can support what we need to help ourselves be easeful, to feel less pain, which is the main goal. So just like you were doing when you're sitting back in a chair, engage your low abdomen, draw it up and back, draw your ribs down, create that length in your spine, and then see if you can, like, as if you're sticking your tail out, like you're going to wag your tail, you're just going to rock back onto your heels. So you can even lift your toes up a little bit so that you're sending your hips back behind you as you bend your knees. Bending the knees is the most important part. And yeah, it's going to be really challenging on these thighs, but what you can also do is press your hands into your thighs. So what this not only does is it not only supports the spine, it also creates a bit of traction. If you've ever been to a chiropractor, they have like traction tables where they actually strap you in and it elongates your spine to create some more space there. It feels a little bit weird and like, you know, it feels very spacious. So it's bizarre. It's a bizarre feeling because that sinuous fluid is really sticky. So it likes to stick together like bubble gum. And then when it gets stretched out, it's like, whoa, it's gonna like fall apart. But don't worry, it's not gonna fall apart. If you can press your hands into your thighs, it kind of alleviates the need for your thighs to engage so much. So say you're brushing your teeth, okay? And it's too much for you to sit back the whole time, right? We only really need to bend over to like maybe put some water on the toothbrush, and then we engage the glutes to stand back up, just like when we were sitting up from out of the chair. And if it gets to be too much, say we're washing our face, right? This is like relearning different ways to move. So maybe we normally wash our face with 2 hands. Okay, but maybe it's too hard for us to sit straight back and keep the spine long. So we pick a hand, place one hand on your thigh, closer to the hip crease, the better, because that'll create a little bit more traction, but closer to the knee might be a little bit more easeful for you. So just pick a place that feels really good. Doesn't really matter where the fingers are. Just grip your leg if you need to. Then you can hold your spine long is the most important part. Then you can turn the water on, splash your face, maybe use a washcloth instead of your hands to wash your face if that's what you normally do. And then again, when you're ready to stand up again, you're going to squeeze those glutes, lifting your spine up in one piece. So we're not rounding the shoulders and rolling down. We're keeping the spine long and hinging at the hips. So you want to hinge at the hips, bend the knees, send the hips back behind you. So the chest is really coming down towards the thighs and knees. Use the hands if you need that support. Use one hand if you need the other hand to be doing something. And then be very mindful when you go to stand up. You can either walk your hands up and start creating even more traction. I mean, this could be a really nice thing to do in the morning, just to create a little traction for yourself that feels really good and relieving. And then when your hands are removed, begin to engage the glutes, keeping the spine long, sending the tailbone forward, and coming back to stand. So if you haven't been already, you can just try that movement a couple times. Try the traction, press the palm into the hip crease. And just see how that's working for you. Bend the knees. You can't bend the knees enough. Sarah, try to bring the hips back behind you. Send that tailbone back behind. Yeah, there you go. So if your knees are coming forward of your ankles, like they're coming over your toes, you want to send your hips back even further, right? Because if I'm doing this, if it's too hard and I'm sending my knees forward, it's going to apply a lot of pressure on this shin muscle, and it's going to pull down on the front of the knee, the ACL. So over time, that repetitive motion could create even more inconsistencies in the front of the shin and in the knee. So you want to really send those hips back, as if back behind you is the most important thing, as opposed to coming forward. Hips back, 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 back. Nice. And if you want to encourage it for yourself, place your palms on your thighs and pull up. So pull your shoulder blades back and like press your hands into your thighs as if they're coaxing them back. So instead of just coming down and bending my knees, right? I'm not doing this. I don't want to come down and lift the heel. You'll know because your heels will probably lift up. Most of our Achilles are really tight, right? If the knees are coming forward, we don't want this. We want to press the thighs back behind us so that the hips are behind us. And it could take a lot of practice to get those glutes to be able to hold up the whole spine. But we want to think about coming back first, like we're sitting in that chair, right? Imagine the chair is like, it's not right underneath of your legs. The chair is a little bit behind you. So you have to sink your hips back and bend those knees really deeply to come backwards. Nice. Really nice. Good job. The straighter the arms, the easier it will support you as well, right? If you bend the elbows, then it's like using more of the tricep and the bicep. But if you straighten the arms, it works to act as like a buttress in architecture, if you're familiar, or like a triangle, or like a wall hanging. So it can support the spine for staying really long, and then you don't really have to use as much of the muscles of the tricep and bicep. Just don't lock out that elbow really strongly, or you can risk kind of overextending it. But the straighter the arms, the more supportive. Just like a kickstand on a bike. Nice. Keep thinking back, back, back. Sink those hips back. Abdomen up, hips back. Abdomen up, hips back. And then we're going to bring back the breath again, right? So when you sit back, exhale. Good. And when you stand up, engage the glutes. Inhale. Let the belly fill with breath and lift you. Nice. Exhale, hips back. Behind you. Think of lifting your toes and putting the weight all on the heels, even the backs of the heels. Exhale as you sink down. Yep. Inhale as you squeeze the glutes and rise up. Straighten those arms, Mo. Yeah, they'll really support you. Good. Exhale as you lower, send the hips straight back behind you. Nice, use those arms as a buttress or a support system. Inhale, squeeze the glutes and rise up. Really nice. So that's how we're slowly over time going to develop the ability to bend over without rounding the spine. So this keeps all of the vertebrae aligned so that the front or the back isn't pressing with too much pressure and squirting out some more of that sinus fluid or bulging out. We're working on always keeping the spine nice and long and using the breath to kind of fill in that space. So beautiful. Let's move along to sitting down or getting down to the floor. So it's the same concept as when we were coming on to the chair. So now you don't have a chair there. So you're coming from Tadasana in yoga, mountain pose. Feet are hips width distance apart. First, we acknowledge, again, pulling the abdomen up and back, ribs down, filling in that curve in the spine, making it a bit straighter. Draw the shoulder blades back, but if the ribs flare up, pull them down. So it's this kind of constant micro adjustments that we're making. So the knees are bent, right? Creating a little bit of fluidity and bounciness. We're going to inhale as we lift the arms up. We're going to keep the arms up, or you can choose to lower them down. And you're just going to step back with one leg. Bend the front knee, come to the ball of the foot on the opposite leg. So again, we're in crescent lunge. So you're just in a high lunge, really. Breathe in, fill up the low belly with breath. Exhale, tuck the tailbone forward and the pelvis forward, knit the ribs down. We're going to just do a couple dips of the back knee on the exhale. So take a deep inhale, lengthen through the spine, create some space between those vertebrae, and then bend deeply in the right knee to come down to kneeling, right? Keeping the spine long the entire time. When you're coming up, the same is true. Inhale, you can use the arms to assist you, definitely use the breath. Inhale as you straighten the back leg and lift up. Exhale as you lower them, lower the back knee. Again, just like we were lowering the seat to be really soft as it comes to hit the chair, you're going to be just as gentle with the knee, and you're going to use the breath and all the other muscles to assist that knee so it doesn't come smashing down. Big breath originating in the low belly to lift you up, reach the arms up. And exhale, bend the back knee and lower down. All right. From here, it's really simple. We still have long, elongated spine. We're just going to lower the opposite knee down so we come to a kneeling position. Spine is still long, right? Check in. Now that I'm in kneeling position, I can again reconnect that low abdomen, pull the ribs down, create that length in the back of the spine. And then keeping the spine nice and long, I can take a big inhale here, big full belly breath. And then as I exhale, I can just sit down onto my heels. And it's okay if the heels do not, or if the seat doesn't come all the way to the heels. A lot of people have really tight quads or thighs. It's totally fine. Keeping the spine long. From here, we're going to sit up again. We're going to come to kneeling. So we're going to use the arms and the breath, squeeze the glutes together to lift ourselves back up to kneeling. Exhale and lower the arms, keeping the spine long the whole time. So we don't lean forward at all. We don't lean back. We're keeping the spine stacked, lifting the arms. Inhale, squeeze the glutes to lift. Exhale, lower the arms. Come all the way to the bottom of the exhale. One more. Inhale, lift the arms, squeeze the glutes, lift the hips up. And here, you're going to cross the shins over each other. So they just form an X underneath of you. Then on your exhale, you're going to lower the hips down, keeping the spine long. And it'll get a little funny with the thighs being in front of you until you come to a seat. But again, you're using your breath, you're moving mindfully on the exhale, coming down. So now we're already in a seated position. And you can do the same if you're trying to get up. You can kind of pull your feet or wiggle your feet back towards your sits bones. You can place your fingertips down on the sides, or if you have things like blocks with you, you can use them too to keep your spine long. And on your inhale, kind of roll yourself forward back onto your shins. If that's too difficult, because it is, let's be honest, you can come to bring one foot to the floor. Shift your weight over into your bent knee, your leg that's already on the floor. You're keeping your spine long, and then you're just going to press yourself back up to one knee. So side to side movement is totally possible using the oblique muscles. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. But you can come up those two ways. In terms of coming down, if we're from kneeling, we cross the shins, we exhale and lower the hips, keeping the spine long. Then we can bring the feet to the mat. We can grab onto the fronts of the knees or the shins with our hands. And there's two ways to come down here. So we're still keeping the spine long, yeah? We can just let the knees roll over to one side, and now we're in kind of like those fainting chairs, right? We're just sitting kind of side saddle. And then we can use the hands to walk ourselves down to lying on our side, extend the one arm out to the side, and then just roll over onto the back. Another option is, so if you're down here with me, then let's do that in the reverse to come back up. So exhale, let the knees come over to the side, so come to your side body, then really use your hands. Press your hands into the floor. Your top arm really presses strongly to lift your spine up. Remember, keeping the spine nice and long. Then you're going to lift the knees on the inhale until you're coming back to seated. Again, the spine is really long, so it's not curling forward, it's not arching back. Your tailbone is still tucked, your pelvis is still drawing up and back. And then from here, if you have enough core strength, you can lower the whole torso in one straight line as you come down. This might take a long time if you're not familiar with core engagement. So that's just one option, right? But we're not going to articulate every vertebrae, right? You've maybe heard people say, roll down one vertebrae at a time. We don't want that right now, especially if we're in an acute pain position. That's just going to exacerbate any inflammation. It's going to put more pressure on the front side of the discs, and it's going to press more of the sinus fluid into the back, into the nerves. We don't want that. So we want to keep the spine long. So we can either use our hands behind us to keep the spine long, right? This is also similar to traction, until we can lower the forearms down. Spine is still long. And then lower one arm down and lower the other side of the spine. So it's a very piecemeal process. And then you can try to come up the same way. So first press one forearm into the floor. The other hand helps you up. Then that same hand that was just the forearm lifts the elbow up and comes back up to seated. Another option is to roll back. It's a bit more tricky in terms of the propensity for you to roll the spine or curve the spine. But you can grab onto the front of the shins, keep the spine nice and long. You're going to pull the shoulder blades back like you're arching the spine, but that's just to overcompensate a little bit until you pull the ribs down, maintain that length in the spine, and then you can kind of slowly rock back until you're on your back. If that causes you any pain whatsoever, don't do it again. Right? And you can do the same for coming up. You can kind of swing your legs forward and back while keeping your shoulder blades pulling back towards each other. But again, if this induces any pain whatsoever, do not rock and roll, right? Use one of the other alternatives. Either bring the hands back behind you, come down to the forearms, then lower the forearms down, one shoulder blade, then the other, or from a long spine, let the knees fall over to the side, walk your hands down till you're on your side, extend that bottom arm out to the side so you're on the back of your rear deltoid, the back of your shoulder blade, and then roll over onto your back. So is everybody on the floor, or are we just watching? I'm gonna demonstrate. I'm just gonna grab a strap here. If you need to grab your strap, just be mindful of your movements, right? Use your breath as you move. Nice. So you have a strap or a scarf or a towel. Get that handy. So I'm just going to come down using the opposite leg. I'm going to inhale up, step my opposite leg back. Exhale, lower my arms, lower the knee. Inhale, lift the arms up again. Why not? Let them support you. Keep the spine long. Exhale, lower that knee. I like the cross the shins one, so I'm going to do that again. Cross the shins and come to seated. I can put the hands behind me to support that length in my spine. Place the soles of the feet on the ground, and then I'm going to just let both of the knees come over to the side. Walk my hands down. I'm really supporting my spine the whole time. Reach the bottom arm out to the side, back of the shoulder blade, and then I roll over onto my back. So from here, we're going to come into the bug. This is a core exercise that will help you to really create spinal extension all the time. So the feet are hips width distance apart. The soles of the feet or the heels of the feet are pretty close to the sits bones. They don't have to be like all the way up close, because this is just for a moment. You're going to press through the heels, engage the glutes, and with that same long spine, you're just going to lift your hips up. This is called bridge pose. And then you're going to place the strap underneath your spine and then lower your hips down. So you notice with your thighs, with your knees bent, your thighs are already almost perpendicular to your torso. So acknowledge if this is already a bit aggravating for you, and you can again use some traction. Place the palms into the hip creases and just push the thighs away from you, creating that space in the spine. Might feel weird, it might feel aggravating. If it does, again, do not do it. You don't have to do any of this. This is all only to support you. Whatever works for you, use it. Whatever doesn't, leave it. It's not for you. It's totally fine. So you want that strap to be behind where your belly button is, especially if you have a lumbar herniation like L5S1. If your herniation is a bit higher, then if you know where your herniation is, place that strap where the herniation is. So say it's L5, L6, you just put it up a little bit higher so it's kind of underneath your bottom rib. If it's low back, you want to put it more behind your belly button. Essentially, you want to place it where there's the most curvature in the spine or the most distance from the floor with the back. First step is drawing the abdomen back. Just like we did with standing, you're going to pull your abdomen down towards the floor and your rib down towards your hip bones. What this is going to do is create a connection between your low back and the strap. So then you can tug on it a little bit to test to make sure that that strap isn't moving by engaging the core. This is spinal extension. So if you ever have trouble finding that extension for yourself when you're standing, do the bug first to get your muscles familiar with that contraction and test yourself. Or it's really fun if you have a buddy, you can do it with a partner. Okay, from here, if this is okay, if you can do this, great. Reach your arms up in front of you, palms facing one another, fingers spread wide. This is just to have active arms. Every muscle in the body is active. We're all coming to the table, just like that mindset of all of the negative thoughts running to the front line, but instead this is positive, supportive things. So we have every muscle in the body activated. The core is pulling down, the abdomen back, the ribs down and back. And then you're gonna reach the left thumb really back behind you to tap on the floor. You're gonna lift the left knee up so the shin is parallel to the floor. The foot is perpendicular to the shin. It's called a 90 degree angle. And then you're gonna inhale and extend that heel down to tap on the floor. Then you're gonna exhale and lift the hand up towards the foot. Inhale and lower. Watch that the ribs don't flare up on your inhale and arc the spine. You want to still test that you're able to still squash that strap down, right? You don't want the strap to be able to move. That's how you know you're engaging that core. And then exhale, reach the hand for the foot. If your leg doesn't stay straight, if the hamstring is too tight, it's totally fine. You can bend the knee and bring the hand and the knee back just kind of parallel. Inhale, reach back, keeping the core connected. Let the belly really fill up and send the breath into the back body. Exhale, use the power of the exhale to bring the leg back and bring the arm forward. Try one more, deep inhale. Remember, filling up the low belly so that it extends out to the sides and around to the back and really presses on that strap. And then exhale, come back to center. Relax the foot down to the floor, relax the arms out to the side, and just take a couple of breaths. Notice how you feel, right? Is it really hard? This is probably a really big challenge. It still is for me, and I've been doing it for 22 years. So we're gonna do the other side when you're ready. You're gonna first reach your left arm back behind you, so your thumb taps on the ground behind you on your inhale. Then you're gonna lift your right foot and extend the leg straight, tap the heel on the ground. Then on your exhale, you're gonna bring your foot and your hand to come together. Again, if it's too tight on the hamstring to keep the leg straight, just bend the knee. It's totally acceptable. Check that that strap is still totally cemented onto the floor with your low spine. You don't want to be able to pull that strap. That is the #1 most important element of this whole exercise. Inhale as you reach the left thumb back and extend the right leg straight. The heel doesn't have to come down and tap on the floor if it's too challenging for you. It can just hover at any height. If it's too hard, just go where you are able to and use your exhale to come back to center. Bent knee is perfectly acceptable. You don't have to straighten the leg. Inhale, extend. Exhale, come back to the center. Really use the full length of your breath and the power of your breath. So again, just like we did at the very beginning of class, you're breathing into that low belly. Inhale, fill up, let the belly get really big, extend the leg, doesn't matter how low it goes. Exhale, come back to the center. Inhale, reach and extend. Exhale, back to center. Let's try one more. Inhale, reach and extend, and exhale, back to center. Lower the foot down, lower the arms down by the sides, and just relax for a minute. And notice when you relax what the shape of the back does, right? Does it naturally curve a little bit? If that hurts you to have a little bit of curve in the spine when you're just laying down, you can always roll up a small towel when you're resting and place it underneath of the low back. That'll just allow for those back muscles to relax while we're working on the core. But during the exercise, when you're doing the leg movements, you want to have that strap underneath of you and not something that's really thick under there, because you really want to engage the core. If it's impossible for you without pain, then of course use the towel, roll it up. It's also a great place to use ice. If you have like a gel ice pack, if you want to place it underneath of your back while you're doing this exercise, it can be really soothing, especially if the ice is also kind of long enough to come around to the glutes. It can really be soothing on the sacrum and the low back. So that's the bug. The next progression of the bug is to lift your arms straight out in front of you and also lift both knees at the same time. So you're lifting your shins so that they're parallel to the floor. Keeping that connection to the low back again is the most important aspect of it. The thighs should be as close to perpendicular to the torso as possible. And you inhale the left thumb back and the right heel down to the floor. Exhale, come back to what's called 90-90. 90 degrees with the torso and the thighs, 90 degrees with the shins and the thighs, 90 degrees with the feet and the shins. Inhale the right hand back, thumb taps, heel taps. Exhale, come back to center. So the whole time you're trying to smash that low back into the strap. Pull the ribs down, don't let them flare. And the more you extend the leg, the more challenging it's going to get on that core. So allow yourself to maybe only come, to a diagonal line and then back to center on your exhale. Inhale to a diagonal line, exhale back to center. Baby steps towards it. And if that's altogether too challenging, come back to both feet on the ground and just do one leg at a time while the other foot is down. Work your way up to a stronger progression, work your way up to having the leg fully extended, the arm fully extended back. If your hamstrings are tight, again, always come back to a bent knee. You can also, sorry, I kind of went ahead of myself and then I'm coming back again, but you can also, when you extend the leg, not extend the leg straight. If that's altogether too much weight with the leg on the core, you can keep the knee bent and reach just the heel down, keeping the knee bent. Just tap the heel and exhale, come back to center, switch, tap the heel, exhale, come back to center. The objective here is that you use your breath as opposed to just your muscles, and that you keep that strap from being able to be pulled out from underneath of you the entire time. So if that alone is too challenging to keep that strap connected, then you can just lay down, pull your core back, and just keep tugging on that strap to strengthen those abdominal muscles. This is your true core. This is a, I forget what I was going to say. This is true core activation. Oh, it's an isometric contraction. If you're not ready yet to move on to the movement of the arms and the legs, then just stay and see if you can hold that contraction as you inhale and exhale, right? Natural progression of the breath. Since we're lying on the back here, I'll take questions in a moment about the bug, but this is just a good place to talk a little bit about sleep. So however you're most comfortable sleeping, it's great to be on the floor right now if you are, to just check in with yourself and notice. A really wonderful thing to do, I can send you guys if you'd like, it's in my private Facebook group, is a Shavasana guide. So it guides you through all the points of the body connecting with the floor. That's really the premise of what's called Yoga Nidra, which is yogic sleep. It's a process of releasing the physical body to allow yourself to sleep more fully. So we consciously take a tour through the body and all the points of connection with the floor to enable ourselves to feel heavy and dense, to really sink down, to ground our energy so we can better prepare for rest and sleep. Remind me if you, in your private session, if you would like a sample link to that Shavasana guidance. But it's great to acknowledge where all the points of connection of your body are with the bed or whatever surface that you're sleeping on, and then notice all of the points that are off of the surface. So all of the curvatures of your spine, behind your knees, under maybe your wrists, your elbows, behind your neck, and just see how you feel in that position with no support, right? If you're just lying on your bed with nothing, especially even without a pillow, just see how you feel. And then begin to check in with different parts of your body and see, what could I do with my body? Just like we used our hands to place them on ourselves or just gently massage an area to make it feel better. Where could I place a pillow, or perhaps, might require you to buy some more pillows or roll up some towels, but really acknowledge that this is my time. This is my time to rest, to let my body heal itself, to be able to not have to be conscious of how I'm moving, what I'm doing, how I'm breathing. It's really my time to let go. So if I'm not fully comfortable, it is my right to make myself more comfortable, and I owe it to myself to make myself as comfortable as I can possibly be so that I can rest most fully, because that's what's doing myself the biggest favor, right? It's the most self-loving to support ourselves the most. So even if that requires you to get couch cushions, chair cushions, buy some roll cushions or pillows, go shopping for some new things to support yourself better. Maybe you would like a cushion underneath of your knees. Maybe you would like a small towel rolled underneath of your neck. Maybe you would like one under the crux of your elbow. Maybe it's really hard for you to not roll over onto one side. So maybe you build a tower of pillows on the side that you always roll to just encourage you softly to stay lying on your back. If you are a side sleeper and you do feel the most comfortable lying on your side, then it's really nice to put a cushion between your legs so that your hips and your thighs stay parallel to the bones. Otherwise, you're putting a little bit of pressure on the outer hip flexor muscle, which isn't horrible, but over time that can be a little bit too much pressure. So you want to support yourself as if you were lying on your back. Same concept. Wherever there is space, I want to put something there to support it. So just like you use a pillow because your head doesn't fully rest, especially on the side, you want to put something between your legs to kind of give your knees and your thighs some of that separation. Make sure it's big enough. That's why I love those body pillows. You can just hug it in. Also, when you're lying on your side, it can be nice to just have a towel rolled underneath of your neck. Like say your pillow is like too fluffy and it's coming up at an angle, or it's too stiff. Really pay attention to all of the qualities of the pillows that you have, the cushions that you have, and how many you have. And if you need some more, get some. I can't stress enough that we need to really support ourselves to the utmost, right? You are the most important being in the entire world. Your sleep is the most important time for your body to heal on a cellular level, which is the most important thing for your body to be able to regenerate the sinuous fluid, for you to build bone density. Yeah, and to just allow yourself to really rest. It's equally as important to remain hydrated. It's equally as important to not be full of food when you go to sleep, so that your body isn't using its energy to digest, but can actually use it to regenerate your cells. Yeah, I think that's pretty sufficient for sleep. So however you decided or you learned tonight is the best way for you to get yourself up again, please do so mindfully, very mindfully. I personally like always rolling over to my side, using my hands to prop myself back up so I can keep my spine nice and long. And then I also like to come to kneeling to stand. So I'm going to just teach you another quick one here. If you're seated kind of side saddle with your front foot on the top of the thigh of the opposite leg, you can then shift yourself up onto kneeling again. You can still keep your spine long. If you can see, I'm kind of in like a tabletop position. And then inhale and come back up to kneeling. You can bring both of your shins to parallel, keeping the spine long. Exhale, lower the arms, just to give them a little rest. And then as you inhale and lift the arms, you can shift your weight into one of your knees, bring the sole of the foot to the floor. Then you can tuck that back toe under. And the easiest way up from here is just to straighten that back leg. So you can engage the glute on the leg that the foot is down on. Lift the arms up as you breathe into the belly. Just straighten the back leg. And then as you exhale, you can step forward to stand. Bring the hands to the heart center. We call that samasthiti in yoga. So how are we all doing?
Hey, Beth, I have a question.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to get up yet. When I'm trying to get up, is it okay if my spine not like curves forward, but curves sideways?
Yeah, that's just lateral curvature.
That's okay.
Depending on where you have your herniation. Does your herniation go out to the side?
Yeah, it goes out to the left. So what side should I try and get up on?
Yeah, that's a great question. If it goes out to the left, then you want to roll over onto your left, because what's happening, so this is your left side. If you rolled over onto your right, it's opening that side of the vertebrae. right? So you instead want to use the oblique muscle to close it and roll over onto the left side. And then you can also, since that is the weaker side, that'll have you with that side down, so you can use your hands on the floor to support it if those muscles are weak.
Okay, I'll give that a try.
And use your inhale as you're coming up. All right, guys. I think we covered kind of a lot of this. Does anybody have any questions about anything related to your back? Should the back be tight on the ground? Sarah asked before. Yes. Okay, feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you have any. And other than that, I just wanted to make a little note about advocating for yourself. So when you're dealing with, you're undoubtedly going to deal with a lot of doctors. You're going to have to repeat yourself many, many times with different doctors, whether it's your general practitioner, getting an MRI, seeing spine specialists. Not everyone knows your situation. So it can be very frustrating to have to re-talk everyone through everything that's happening with you. Please acknowledge and recognize that you are your own guru. You are your best asset and ally, and you know yourself best. So if anyone is telling you, hurry up or just have a seat there, you owe it to yourself and deserve to advocate for yourself in every situation. So if there's anything that you need in order to sit down, lie down, stand back up again. If you're in a position where you can't really use these tools of your breath, of your muscular activation, or if you feel like you're being hurried, I encourage and invite you to always advocate for yourself. Just speak slowly to whoever it is that you're working with. Let them know, I am at a pain level of 7 today, or I just re-herniated, or I can't sit down right now, or I'm more comfortable standing up. I can't bend over to fill out this form because it's too much pressure on my spine. Do you have a podium table, or do you have a higher chair, or just talk people through what you're experiencing, because most people in the medical field see so many patients, and they haven't necessarily also been through this type of specific pain that you are experiencing. So try to give people the benefit of the doubt and welcome them into that world. It's just going to help make your experience better, and to help you fully heal more efficiently, because you won't be feeling forced into these compromised positions that will put you under more strain. Same goes for getting medical care and getting financial coverage. Insist upon the lowest cost, the payment plans. You don't have to pay bills as soon as they arrive, especially if you have very low funds or if you've been out of work. Just know that everything is possible. You can advocate for yourself, and most people on this planet are very reasonable and understand if you just let them in with a window into how you're feeling, right? The pain that you are experiencing. So I know how it feels to have to make so many calls when you're in excruciating pain, and it seems like everyone's just giving you the runaround and passing you off to different people, and you have to explain yourself a million times. If you need to take a moment for yourself, excuse yourself, put your hands on your belly, breathe deeply into your belly, into your back, visualize sending that breath, that energy into your herniated disc, even speaking to it, right? This is a process that I use with people in meditation as well. Visualize that sinus fluid coming off of the nerves, coming back into the vertebrae. Visualize it even dissolving, loving it into dissolution. Visualize sending your breath into the places in your body that feel tight or in pain or restricted. It's amazing the power of the mind. Remember that all sensations, physical, spiritual, emotional, begin with the mind. It's like if a bear, I'm forgetting what the old adage is, but if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, right? Does it make a sound? What the heck was I trying to say? What was the analogy? Sorry, I totally lost my train of thought there. I completely forget what I was saying. Sorry, guys. Anyway, use your breath. It's here for you. Oh, I was talking about using your mind, the power of your mind. Right. So all of your experiences start in your mind. They are actually a thought first. So we have the power to question the thoughts that we have. Ask yourself, is this real? So our minds tend to go into those double, triple, quadruple stages of dukkha or suffering. Try to hone it back to just one level, right? My back hurts. Great. Let me focus on the pain and how I can reduce the pain, what makes the pain feel better, instead of allowing it to multiply and get bigger and bigger and bigger. I would love to hear any thoughts that you guys have or any questions or comments that you have. I'm going to give us all about 5 more minutes. I really appreciate you guys staying on here with me for this extensive time period. And I hope you guys got at least something out of it. Some things I would love to hear, just like I mentioned at the beginning, if there is something that you learned from today that you're going to take away into your daily life, I would love to hear that. If there's something that really resonated with you or something that definitely impacted you more than everything else, I would love to hear what that was. Feel free to put it in the chat, or if you just want to unmute yourself and go wild, I'm here.
Hey.
Hey.
So I just wanted to say thank you. I was able to do things that I haven't done in 7 weeks now. So I used muscles that like didn't even exist anymore. So I'm super sore, but it feels super good. So thank you so much.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. I'm so glad. Yay! Keep that positivity going.
I was going to say more or less the same thing. I've used muscles that I didn't know I had because I could feel my core firing up.
Great.
And thank you. Obviously, I'm going to have to put a lot of practice into doing them moves. So time will tell.
Yeah. So how are you going to do that, Mo? I'm curious.
I will just schedule a little time slot for myself, maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And just
wonderful.
Try them moves over and over again.
Fantastic. I would love to hear what your experience is, what wins you have in the future. That's really great. Sarah, I'm curious how what you're gonna put into practice for yourself.
Same thing. I'm just going to take some time out for my day and try these every day and get stronger.
Nice. This is wonderful. I'm so happy. Yay. Okay, so we talked at the beginning about one thing that you can celebrate yourself for. I'm curious if you guys had one that you could celebrate at the beginning, or maybe just now you do. Yeah, would you like to share? And Gabrielle, I'm not ignoring you at all. If you'd like to chime in, please do. Feel welcome. You can send in the chat if you'd like. Hey.
I want to celebrate the official start of my healing journey.
Yay! All right. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Celebrating you right along with you. That's wonderful. All right. Anybody else want to celebrate anything? Can't hear you, Mo. You're muted.
I was going to say, I'm going to celebrate joining in on this because I was in two minds whether to join or not. And I'm so glad I did.
Oh, great. I'm definitely celebrating you for that. I'm so glad that you did too. It's wonderful. All right. Gabrielle, would you like to add anything? No pressure if you don't want to. It's totally fine. I am just putting in the chat right now the link that you guys can use to schedule a private session with me. You all get one complimentary one for being such willing and wonderfully positive participants of this session tonight, just as a token of my gratitude. So feel free to copy it from the chat box. You can also email me if you would like. I'll just put my email here again as well. I have emailed you all. Just want to confirm that you guys have been receiving emails and the updates for these sessions. Please let me know if we've communicated on Facebook Messenger. You can please also message me there. That's perfectly fine as well. And just as a little sum up, you can find me on Love It Yoga Coaching on Facebook. If you'd like to follow my page, I have a lot of breath work and meditations on that. They're more than just back pain specific. They are related to all types of pain that we experience in this human reality. I also have an Instagram page that's Breathe with Beth that also has longer form videos of breathworks. And then I have a YouTube channel, Breathe with Beth Yoga and Meditation, that has a lot of coaching tools for more of this thought conceptualization, myth busting about our lives and the ways that we use our brains to heal ourselves on our journey. So just want to thank you guys for being here. And if you want to schedule your session with me, I'll have that available for you just within the next 24 hours. Feel free to message me if you have any questions or just go directly to the link and schedule. If there's not a time that works for your schedule on there, please just, again, send me an email, let me know, or a message, and I'll try to find a time that does work more with time zone. I appreciate you guys coming on and being on here for this extended period of time, especially with the difference in a lot of our time zones. As you can see here, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. I'm in Cambodia, if anyone's curious. But I love being able to connect through these meetings and share a lot of this powerful learning that I've acquired over the years of my journey. So it's really honoring for me to have you be present and willing participants to help yourselves become your own gurus. So I really value and appreciate you for being here tonight or today, if it's day for you. And if there's any more questions, please give a shout out. Otherwise, we can close with another really powerful, simple exhale breath. In yoga, we like to, it's like I'm speaking for the whole yoga community globally, but chanting Om is also a really powerful tool. Om is the original sound, and chanting it kind of calls in, it's almost like an all call for all of your guides, all of your ancestors, all spirits, all beings, that we may all be at peace and all may experience oneness. Heading out, Mo. Let's do
Bye.
one.
Thank you.
Bye, Mo. You're so welcome. Thanks for being here. So we'll just take a deep inhale, and then we'll Om. We'll inhale to prepare, And then exhale out 1 round, and then inhale to Om and Om together. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, just let it all out. Inhale to Om. Bring your hands to your heart center. Gently bow your head. Honor yourself in any way you feel is appropriate for today. Thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you soon. Thanks again. Be well. Be at ease.